Y'all see what this is about. First dude tries to take my girl, then he sends some goons to my house and try to have me unalive. Oh, it's definitely on now. You don't want me involved in this. Dude, now, man, they shot me. You see my leg? If you never messed with him in the first place, this wouldn't even be the situation. Man, I'm not sure how true this is, but I heard some dudes ran down on Earl and gunned him down in the streets, man. They said he might be unalive. I don't know what's going on, bro. That's crazy. I can't believe the streets think I actually had something to do with that. I got to keep this thing on me at all times, you know what I mean? Because I could be next. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again. Real Kens TV and the house like motherfucking kitchen sinks. Welcome back to part 2 of On the Down Low in Prison, aka the Vick and Earl story. Now, if you're not familiar with this story, I would encourage you to go on my page and watch part 1. You watch part 1, then you'll fully understand, and it'll bring you up to speed for part 2 of this story. Now, where we last left off was Vick and Earl. They were former cellies, best friends in prison. Earl had came home 18 months prior to Vick coming home on parole. Once he gets home, he surprises his wife. He didn't tell anybody that he made parole. He told his friends. They came and got him, but he never told Earl because he wasn't really hearing from Earl as much. And he didn't tell his wife, well, his girlfriend rather. He wanted to surprise her. They have 2 kids together, so he just pops up. She didn't know that it was him knocking on the door. She had no clue. She opens the door. Boom. Honey, I'm home. It's Vick. She has a surprised look on her face, like she's just seen a ghost. She's trying to figure out, what is he doing at the door? He's trying to figure out, dang, baby, why ain't you excited, more, upbeat about seeing me? Only to find that his so-called best friend, former cellie, Earl, is in the bed. Oh, yeah, they've been having relations for like the last 9-10 months. That's why Vick wasn't really hearing from Earl as much, and it just blew his mind. So now that I've given you all a brief, I guess, what would you call it, a synopsis? I don't even know if that's the right word in these circumstances, but it sounds good. So now that I've given you all a brief synopsis, we're going to get into part 2 of this story. Vick and his wife, and I keep referring to her as his wife because they were together for so long, 12, 13 years, but they weren't actually married. So if you hear me refer to her as his wife, I apologize. And also, before I get into the story, y'all know my motto, Mr. 30 Minutes or Better, man. So if you're expecting a 12, 15-minute video, this is not the channel for you. You're on your way to work, you're at work, you're on your way from work, you're just trying to relax, hear a good old-fashioned, true penitentiary story, you're trying to take a nap, trying to go to sleep, whatever the case may be, just sit back, rock with me. Take me a little drink before I get into the actual events of the story. A lot of people say, Kens, why you always got a cup? What's in the cup? Man, oftentimes, I don't know if y'all can see in the cup actually, but I love water. I love water. So I'll just take a bunch of these waters and get a big old thing of ice and put it in my cup. And a lot of times I'm drinking ice water. Every once in a while I might be having an adult beverage, but 9 times out of 10 it's ice water. So with no further ado, let's get into part 2 of this story. So Vick and his girl, they decided, we're going to try to work things out. They're going to go to counseling. They're going to do everything that they can possibly do to save this relationship. I mean, after all, 12, 13 years invested, they have 2 children. They had plans to get married. They had a whole lot of plans as far as, spending the rest of their lives together. Vick just did 3.5, almost 4 years in the penitentiary, and his girl never missed a beat. Every visit she was there. Every blue moon she might miss, perhaps the kids, had some things to do or she didn't feel well, but the overwhelming or majority of the time, she was there. Answered all his phone calls, She never wavered. She never started acting shady towards him, never became distant, sent him money, wrote him letters, everything. There was nothing that she could have done as far as on his end, from his perspective, any better than what she had already done. And they weren't willing to just throw that away. Only problem is, Earl has fallen in love with Vick's girlfriend. Earl tells Vick, I'm in love. I love her. Well, obviously that's not sitting well with Vick whatsoever. She tells the girlfriend, she tells Earl that, listen, what we had, it was fun. You know, you brought joy to my life at my darkest moments. But I love Vick. This is gonna be my husband, and this is who I'm rolling with. This is who I'm rocking with. I'm sorry that your feelings got involved. You know, I care for you just as well. But at the same time, you were kind of just there to fill that void for me. You know, because in the absence of the person that I really, really love, you were just, you know, you were there for me. And also, you know, Earl had told Vick's girl that Vick was in the penitentiary messing with them boys. Vick blatantly denied it, and she rode with Vick. She believed Vick. So she cuts Earl off, and you know, they're a little rocky. They're definitely a little rocky. And you know, when you first come home from prison, it's kind of like a honeymoon period. You know, everything is cool. You haven't been around each other for a long time, so everything is, you know, everybody's happy or what have you. But as time goes on and everybody gets to settling in, things kind of calm down a little bit as far as that honeymoon period, and it goes to a sense of normalcy, to say the least. So over the months, you know, it's to the point to where the arguing is picked up tremendously. See, they never really argued before. Every once in a while, a couple's gonna have a skirmish. They're gonna have, you know, some ups and downs, but not to the capacity of this. You see, every argument, Earl's name was brought up. It didn't matter if they were arguing about the dishes, what movie they were gonna watch. It always came back to her being with Earl. And it just got to the point to where it was really starting to take a toll, if you will, on the relationship. Listen, baby, I've already apologized to you. I'm willing, like I said, we've been going to counseling. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to save our relationship, but you can't keep throwing this in my face every time that you're upset and you're mad at me. We're arguing about A and you'll bring up B. It has nothing to do with you know, the discrepancy, if you will, that we're having. I'm tired of you bringing up Earl's name. We did what we did. I told you I was wrong. I'm trying to be contrite about it, you know, show contrition. And if I could take it back, I definitely would. But I can't. So either we're going to move on or we're going to have to move on, because I can't continue to deal with this. Well, obviously, Vick didn't like that. Well, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. And how can you, you know, so it just continuously went on. Not to mention, Earl didn't just leave her alone. Earl would still call every once in a while. Earl would still send a text message every once in a while, because he really had feelings for her. Now, Earl's to the point now to where he feels like, okay, all right, I got to get dude out of the way, man. I really got to get dude out of the way. So you go from being best friends, from programming together in the penitentiary, to I have to get Vick out of the way. But how are you going to say you have to get Vick out of the way when Vick was there in the beginning? He's been with this lady 12, 13 years, 2 kids together. So perhaps you should move yourself out of the way. But that's not the way that Earl looked at it. See, Earl was a lot more street than Vick. Now, don't get me wrong, Vick is even to this, like, Vick is not a punk. Vick is not a punk whatsoever. He's just it takes a lot to really get him to go there. Like I said, Earl's a little bit more street. One night, it's close to midnight. Vick goes out to take the trash out. Now, they live in a house, so, it's not like he has to walk to a dumpster or anything like that. He goes to take the, the trash, put it in the Herbie, put the Herbie, that's what we call him in Kentucky, the Herbie. So the trash man comes and picks it up. Not sure what everybody else calls it. So when you hear me say the Herbie, that's what I mean. He goes outside to put the trash in the Herbie. Boom, boom, boom. 3 loud shots. Wife, his girl, she comes running outside. The kids come running outside. Vick's laying on the ground. Oh, they shot me. They shot me. He gets hit. He's hitting the leg, but he's bleeding pretty bad. Who shot you, baby? Where they at with it? Dudes ran off. Said it was 3 dudes that ran up on him. Shot him. Boom, boom. Only hit him once, though. So, and he was actually lucky because, as I mentioned, it was 3 gunshots and only get hit once. And only to get hit in the leg. I'm not sure if they were intentionally, trying not to unalive him. But nevertheless, he got hit one time in the leg. They rushed him to the hospital. It's not life-threatening. It's, it's a gun wound. It doesn't feel good. But he's going to be okay. Now, immediately, one person comes to Vick's mind. It has to be Earl. It has to be. Who else? I don't have any problems. I don't have any beef. Heck, nobody really even knows where I live at. Who could this possibly be? So now, in Vick's mind, okay, you kill my dog, guess what? I kill your motherfucking cat. It's on. His girl's telling him, no, baby, we don't even know if it was him. It could have just been random. It could have been random. How could it have possibly been random? They didn't try to take nothing from me. They just came out of nowhere and just shot me. How can this just be a random act? So Vick is convinced. He's fully convinced that it's Earl. And there's no way that it could be anybody else but Earl. So like I said, it's up. And once it's up, it's stuck. That means it's on. Urban Dictionary, man. It's on now. Well, as I mentioned, Vick wasn't really a street dude, but Vick knew some street dudes. But Vick had to really play it cool because at the end of the day, he was still on parole. See, Earl wasn't on parole at this time, but Vick was still on parole. And he wasn't trying to do anything to send him back to prison, in which he would be away from his girl, his family, loved ones. And he didn't want the same thing to repeat itself because in his mind he figured, well, if I'm out of the way, now he can slide back in and I'm definitely not having that. That's how Vick felt. Some more time goes on. They continue the relationship's still rocky, but it's getting better. It's getting better, but it's still rocky, as to be understood. They decide, you know what? We need to move. Vick decides, you know what? A new beginning, a new start. We need to get out of this house. After all, when I came into this house, this is how he's thinking. I seen a man in my bed. He was in my bed, in my bedroom. So I no longer want to, live in this house. He had been home for several months. He's working. He's saving his money. So he's able to contribute and help out around the house as far as the bills and things of that nature. So to move really wasn't that big of a deal. They ended up moving. And it just so happens to where the house that they moved into, it was directly next door to a police officer. So even though Vick didn't really like the police like that, at this particular time, he felt a lot more comfortable knowing there's a police officer and his car sits in front of the house at all times. So if anyone tries to do anything like that again, they're probably going to think twice about doing something like that, knowing that a police officer lives directly next door. That's why I always talk about police are necessary. Not exactly fond of all police officers, but they are necessary. Especially in a situation like this. Y'all rock with me, man. So as I mentioned, they continue to go to counseling. And eventually it gets to the point to where Earl is not really, calling anymore. They've moved. She's changed her phone number. And he can still, he's blocked on social media. But there's always a way or opportunity to reach an individual if you really want to reach out to him. But she's really, really closed that door as far as her and Earl. The beef is still brewing in the streets, but it's just kind of like, when I see you, I'm going to see you. You know, Vic didn't really go out like that. Again, Earl was in the streets, but Vic was more so working, coming home, trying to be the family man, trying to really turn his life around. But he also he still had it in his mind that this dude had me shot. Now, obviously, it wasn't Earl that shot him. He felt as though he sent some people for him. So the people that were close to the two of them, they knew that it was on. But it's not like everybody in the whole streets knew. One night, Vic gets a phone call. Vic's in his own hood, his own neighborhood that he was born and raised in. He gets a phone call. He's trying to make somebody wants to make a purchase from him, if you will. Again, Earl was still in them streets, doing his thing. Everybody liked Earl. Earl was a cool dude. He didn't really have no problems. He handled his business. But Earl was a pretty well-liked guy. Supposedly, Earl had a lot of money. Street money. He saved his money, and he's getting it, and it's coming fast. Pause. So, Earl had that. He had that bag. Earl goes to make the play in his own neighborhood. He's supposed to meet the individuals at the park. Every neighborhood has a park. So he's walking to the park, and it's dark, but it's not, how it is like when it's just barely dark. Like it's just now getting dark. It's not like it's, 10, 11 o'clock at night. He's walking, it's like a little alleyway that you can cut through to get to the park. Dudes jump out on him, man. Take him down. Bow, bow, bow. Hit him 3-4 times. His product that he has on him that he was going to sell, they take that. Earl doesn't make it. Earl passes away. Ambulance there, police is there, fire trucks there, everybody's there. He doesn't even make it to the hospital. It's a DOA. So now everybody naturally thinks that Vic had something to do with this. Now, it's one of those things to where everybody, so I'm going to take that back. Let me take that back. That's my manual rewind. You have some people that think that Vic has something to do with this, but then you had a whole lot of other people that thought that it was something else. Now, when I say something else, about a year prior to that, Earl had a younger brother that was gunned down in the streets and unalive. Similar occurrences, similar scenario. Like I said, he was in them streets just as well. Dude set him up, took him out. So now you have a mother that's lost both of her sons within a year period. 13 months, 14-month period. Both of our sons to the streets. Cool dudes. So a lot of people were assuming that if it wasn't Vic, Earl was trying to avenge his brother's, loss. Perhaps it was the dudes that Earl was beefing with on that end, as far as the dudes that unalived his brother. So nobody really knew exactly who it was. To this day, the dudes had never been caught. There's never been an arrest made. And Vic, even though Earl did what he did, Vic was still sad, man. Vic felt bad. He didn't like Earl at this point, but he definitely didn't want to see him unalived. This was my guy, man. This was, we kicked it every day, man. Every day for years. In the same cell together. And to hear him go out, to hear that he went out that way, is just truly, truly tragic. Not to mention, now my name's in the scenario. My name is in the mix. I didn't have anything to do with that. But see, the people that were close to the situation, they put, I guess you could call it a scenario together. Okay, Earl was doing the dude with Vic's wife. Vic didn't like it. He came home, found out about it. They beefing. Now y'all follow me now. Earl's in love with the wife. She's cutting him off. She decides she wants to stay with Vic. He tries to get Vic out of the equation. He sends some dudes, some goons. They shoot Vic. So now Vic is trying to get back at Earl. So maybe Vic sent his goons to take Earl out. That's just how people looked at it. But that was just far from the truth. You see, Vic didn't have anything to do with that whatsoever. He even wanted to go to the funeral. He didn't go, but he really, really wanted to go to the funeral. But he just decided, nah, that's not going to be a good look, me going, with people looking at me thinking that I had something to do with it. The relationship is still kind of, it's rocky. It's rocky at best. Now, you know that Earl's girl, Vic's girl rather, even though she had cut it off with Earl, she had spent nearly a year with him. So I'm quite sure that there was some feelings, some sadness on her behalf, on her end. But she can't really truly express herself because as a man, Vic don't want to hear that. Yeah, he's sad and everything that Earl's gone, but it's because of Earl, along with you, is why we're in the situation that we're in now as far as our relationship being rocky, up and down. Some more months went past. They fought for their relationship, man. I'm going to say they definitely fought for their relationship. They continued to go to counseling, but it just wasn't working. And it got to the point, there's an old saying, when a woman's fed up, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. She got to the point to where she was fed up. She got tired of hearing Earl's name. Every time something happened, it always came back to what she did along with Earl. Well, Vic said, you know what, man? I'm going to do me a little bit. He starts to get on social media. He starts to chat and have engagements, if you will, with other women. And the more that he did that, the further distant, if you will, that he became with this girl. She noticed something wasn't right. All women have that intuition. So she gets to doing her research and jumping on the computer and the laptop or what have you, and she's able to somehow get into his account, hack into his account, and she sees all these different women that he's messaging, and it's just like, you know what? Nuh-uh. It's over with. I can't do it. I've tried. I hung in there with you. I've cried. I've done everything that I could possibly do. We've been going to counseling. What does old Vic say? Oh, so when I do it, it ain't cool. But you can do it all day long. See, that's what I'm saying. I can't do it. I can't do this anymore. And I'm done. She decides she's leaving the relationship. Vic is not happy about that scenario whatsoever. And in addition, Vic is getting threats from the streets for the people that thought that he had something to do with the Earl situation, and she's really not trying to have it. We have kids together. Our kid, we are really caught up in some street stuff, and I can't deal with this. But all along, she's not taking the accountability. Just because you say you're sorry, doesn't mean that it necessarily just goes away. If you never slept with Earl in the first place, none of these things would even be going on. So then you say, okay, Kens, but if he never went to prison in the first place, they wouldn't be going on. That's a good fact, and that's a good point. But he did go to prison. And she decided that she was going to hang in there and they were going to work it out and stick it out together. But when you lay down with a dude's friend, man, any dude, but especially a dude's friend, his best friend, it's probably just best that they ended things immediately. Instead of even trying to work things out, because things will never be the same ever again. That situation is a done deal. So she was really, really dead wrong for even doing something like that, along with Earl, because it takes two to tango. They're still living in the same household. They're making arrangements. Vic is going to move out. So they're, making the necessary arrangements, and, they're still cordial. They're still, interacting and co-parenting with the kids or what have you. So, they've had to explain to the kids that dad's going to be moving out, and it's just a sad situation. One particular afternoon, Vic was supposed to pick the kids up. He never picked the kids up from school. And that was very, very odd, because Vic wasn't the type of guy that would take it out on his kids just because he was having trouble with the mother. The mother was having trouble with him, however you want to, phrase it. She thought that was just awfully weird. She's calling his phone. There's no answer. She's calling the house phone. Yeah, they still had a house phone. One of the few people that have a house phone. I do too. Rock with me. Calling and calling. She don't get an answer. Well, she's a nurse, so she was able to actually leave, go pick the kids up. They come home. When they come home, they see that Vic's car is in the driveway. Front door is open, but the screen part is locked. So they're knocking on the door. Dad, ringing the doorbell. Dad, open up. They figuring, okay, possibly, he fell asleep, or maybe he's in the shower or something like that. They can't get in the door still. So they're knocking. Police officer just happens to be outside in the yard. Excuse me, sir. My boyfriend's in the house, and I don't know. We've been out here for like 15 minutes, and we can't get into the house. The screen door is locked. I don't know if something's wrong. His car is here. We're calling his phone. His police officer comes over. They knock some more, ring the doorbell, kind of look in the windows or whatever. She gives him permission to pretty much break the door. Police officer breaks the door. They walk in the house, look around. Dad. She's calling him Vic. They walk in the living room. Well, there's actually two parts. They have a living room, then they have like a little den area. They walk in the den. He's laid straight down, face down on the ground. Oh my God. The kids have to see that. She's going crazy. Honey, baby, wait. He's non-responsive. They call 911. 911 gets there. It's over. He's gone. It's over. Now, it wasn't one of those situations where somebody had done anything to him or got back at him or anything like that. Try to get back at him, rather, because he hasn't done anything in order for somebody to get back at him. He lay down and taken a nap and just didn't wake up. To this day, I'm not sure exactly what the situation was, exactly what happened. Some people said that, he liked to indulge and get high a little bit. I don't know, because that's not my lifestyle. We was cool. Him and I were cool, but I never seen him do anything like that. I seen him drink a little bit, but nothing significant. Seen him, smoke a little weed, but again, nothing major. Hell, he was still on parole. So, when you're on parole, you get tested. So I don't know exactly what the scenario was, as I mentioned, but he was gone. Two individuals, two best friends, two cellies that would do anything for each other in prison, would go back to back and square up with whoever. It didn't matter if it was 5 dudes, 10 dudes, or whatever. They was both gonna get down together, man. One woman fell in love with her. And in a matter of 2 years after being released out of prison, both individuals are gone. Now, when I say 2 years, meaning 2 years after Vic got released, because Earl had already been out 18 months prior to Vic being released. Often wonder, and it's not to put the blame on anybody, but But I often wonder, was it the stress level? I wonder, did he have some sort of a cardiac arrest or a heart attack, or just, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I have no clue exactly what it was. But I know that Vick was dealing with a whole lot. And once she decided to leave him and said that she was done, so there's a difference. You can be done, you can be done. She was done. She was done with all the arguing, all the heartache, all the stress. I really, really wonder if that played a role on Vick never waking up. Just deep, man. This is a deep, deep story, man. And Vick and I, man, we was cool, man. That was my dude. That was my dude. I knew Earl, but Vick and I, man, we kind of go way back, man. We was real cool, man, and he's a real cool dude, man. See what I'm saying? He was a very, very down to earth, just caring individual, man. Give you the shirt off his back. I know people say that all the time. This dude would literally give you the shirt off his back. I used to see him. We both did it. I used to see him give homeless people money all the time. Take them food, take them water. He was just a good, genuine person, man. I think about him all the time. And I just wish things that occurred could have been different. But hey, can't really change things that happen. Perhaps the things that happened was meant to happen. I don't know. I don't really have an explanation for it. R.I.P. Vick, man. R.I.P. Earl just as well, man. Hopefully you all like the story. Feel free to definitely comment, share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and be sure to hit that post notification so anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive, man.